Hey everyone, welcome to another episode. So on today's episode, you guys will meet DJ Commish. DJ Commish is a New York-based DJ, and he's been doing this for a very long time. I like to interview DJs because I feel like everyone has a different story about why they got into the business, what they're doing with it, where they plan to take it, and what it means to them. So that's why I continue to interview DJs and just, get their take on, you know, um, their passion and what drives them, to stay in this career. Some people do it full time, some people do it part time. DJ Commish is a full time DJ, he's an entrepreneur. He has DJ Commish Radio, which is very fascinating. The one thing that I did not ask DJ Commish is where his name came from. So that was something I thought of after. So I'll have to find out and let you guys know. But I hope you enjoy this interview. And if you do, rate it on the website, Apple, iTunes, or wherever you download this podcast. Or send me an email at, what is my email? Oh Hell No Podcast at gmail.com. Email me at ohhellnopodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, anything that you want to tell me, send me an email and I'll definitely respond. I hope you enjoy this episode. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Welcome to Oh Hell No with Nicole.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Tonight I have DJ Commish with me. Welcome, DJ Commish. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Good
Yes.
to be on the show. I listen a lot, so it's good to actually be on here.
Wow. Well, thank you for listening. I appreciate anyone who listens to my podcast. So thank you.
No problem. No
So
problem. Glad to be here.
tonight I wanted to start off with a confession, right? So most of the people who listen to my podcast know me as Nicole, right? But I've started doing some other things that people will probably see my face on social media and they might see me associated with another name. So I just want my listeners to know that I'm not a fraud or I'm not some crazy person running around with like 5 different names. So my first name is Keisha and my middle name is Nicole. And when I started the podcast, I decided to go with Nicole because I thought it just sounded better, So it's Keisha Nicole, people. So I'm not, doing some sketchy stuff, just so you know. So you call me whatever you want.
All good. All
So
good.
with that being said, do you have any confessions that you want to air out tonight?
Confessions. Well, I'll confess that I didn't go outside today.
All right, fair enough. We'll take that.
I was too busy recording all day and just kind of, being out the loop. I do confess that there are several times during the week that I can be at home or recording and not watch television at all for the entire day and just be out the world, out the loop of what's going on in the world.
That's good, though. It's okay to unplug sometimes and get into yourself, whether it be with meditation or with you working or whatever it is. I think that's good.
I try. I mean, but it's like I feel like I'm always playing catch up, so that's why I don't get a chance to watch too much television.
Yeah, it's difficult. I'm trying to play catch up too. I'm trying to catch the last episode of Power, and it just takes a lot of, brain power for me to watch that show. It's just so crazy.
I have yet to watch a full season of it.
Really?
Nah, I just can't. I don't have the time to get into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a good show, but I feel like I have to go back to like the beginning or whatever. I'm not doing a lot.
Yeah, you definitely got to go back if you're going to do it. So just,
Same thing with Game of Thrones. Like my friends love that. I've never watched a full season of that either.
yeah, I love Game of Thrones. I make time for this stuff.
Yeah, it's hard for me to make time. Hard.
All right. Well, let's find out about DJ Commish. So, the first question I have for you is what genre of music did you first fall in love with?
So my mother was born and raised in the South. My dad was from Harlem. So we're Yankees. So we grew up on R&B and funk and soul. That's what I grew up on.
Nice.
Hip hop came along as I was growing up. But my brother was a little bit more into hip hop. My older brother was a little bit more into hip hop at the time. Now you can't pay him to listen to a hip hop track, but but that's what I grew up on, really.
Wow, okay. So, how were you introduced to the art of DJing?
Well, my uncle was the first person that I've ever seen with turntables, and my older brother used to mess around with that. But I was so young, I knew that they were there, but I didn't know what they were or whatever. So they were the first people to really expose me to that.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say that my mother was the original DJ in the house because she always had her collection of records was insane. My father had a collection too, but it wasn't messing with my mom's. And then I honestly got into DJing from a lack. So I went to high school in South Carolina for a little bit. My brother moved to South Carolina to go to college, and then he just stayed there. He's still there now. And I went down there to live with him for a year while I was in high school. And at the time, South Carolina had no hip hop station. Now, me coming from New York, hip hop is a normal thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
So to not have your favorite songs in hip hop or whatever was a culture shock for me, to say the least. The only way that I was able to even find out what was going on hip hop wise was to watch BET. So when I came back to New York after that year, the first thing I started doing was just going to parties and stuff. Starting to get used to being acclimated to music again. And that's when I started, paying attention to what DJs were doing. The lack of having hip hop in South Carolina was the reason why I probably got into music when I came back.
Wow. So then you started paying attention. And then when did you actually say, okay, I want to get behind, these turntables and try to do something? How old were you?
I think I had a radio show before I really wanted to learn how to DJ. So I didn't start actually DJing until I was 20.
Wow, okay.
I was a late starter. I was already in college at the time, and I already had 2 years of being in radio. So I had a music radio show for 2 years, and I was broadcasting sports in college. So my major was sports management.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just doing something totally different. The music stuff was just, that was just because I loved music. But I had no intentions of becoming a DJ at all, really.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So, sports management major, what were your plans? Like, what did you think you were going to do with that degree and, pursue after college?
I thought I was going to be calling games on television. I thought I was going to be Marv Albert or somebody. I don't know. I thought I was going to be able to broadcast, NBA finals and the NCAA tournament and those type of things. But that was the goal. That was the goal back then.
So what derailed that? Do you even remember?
Well, I had picked up DJing before I left school.
Mm-hmm.
I picked up DJing. I basically learned to DJ in the middle of a party. Before I graduated, I ended up having residencies or whatever in New York City. So my DJ career actually took off before I finished school. So by the time I actually finished, my contacts in the sports game, sports is very much like the music industry, and maybe a little bit more frequent to the music industry, whereas people switch jobs quickly, especially when you're young in sports. So every job is like a stepping stone to the next big gig. So if you don't pay attention to your contacts and keep up to date with them, you'll lose them in a minute. So that's what happened to me. By the time I graduated, I didn't keep up with my contacts enough to even have opportunities in sports at the time. But my DJ career was starting to take off, so I just stuck with that.
Wow. So while you were pursuing your passion as a DJ, because now this is, what you're supposed to be doing as far as you realize, right? Because that's what the universe is sending you. Did you ever get discouraged or think that maybe you should, try to go back into sports or take a corporate America job? Did you ever feel like
Oh,
that?
I did. I took a corporate America job. I was working with Goldman Sachs at one point, doing computer tech work. That was probably the last corporate gig had, shall I say?
Hey, that's a great company.
It was pretty decent, but it was before the crash. I got out of there. It started to conflict with my time because I was working overnights, which was the same time as you DJing. So it started to conflict with that a lot more than I thought. So I got out of there. Plus, there was a lot of corporate stuff that I didn't, because I was a DJ, I didn't really deal with corporate America well, and I really didn't know how to deal with the politics of corporate America, and I didn't want to.
Right.
So I kind of got out of that. And I got out of that about 9 months before the crash. And when the crash happened, that whole department dissolved. Crazy. So I kind of got out of there just in time. But that was like the last real corporate America anything that I've done.
And do you remember why you went back to corporate America? Was it just because you wanted to make ends meet while you were hustling the whole DJ thing, or?
Yep, I wasn't making enough money back then. When you're starting out, you're not, you got to build your name and build your credibility. And I really didn't have an idea of what I was doing. I had no plan of what I was doing. For the most part, I had very little support from people that were close to me at the time. Everybody was kind of discouraging me to not pursue what I was doing. And it makes you think about, what are you doing? I definitely had a lot of doubts, especially early.
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. So what do you struggle with the most in this industry, the music industry that you're in?
Overall or right now?
Overall.
Overall, I guess it's the mental aspect of it for me, because I always feel like I don't get the respect I deserve. So it's always like, for me, it's always an uphill battle. From a DJ standpoint, or a promotion standpoint, or a fan base standpoint. People will try to put you in a box and keep you in that box if they could. And I'm always fighting that. I think that's been a consistent fight for my entire career.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. But,
yeah,
I feel like a lot of industries can be like that, and you can feel like that,
Absolutely. So that's just my struggle,
though. What do you love about being a DJ?
Entertaining people. I still get a rush off of going out there and performing in front of people, and people vibing with you, and still being able to have that connection with a room full of people, whether it be 10 people to a couple thousand, 12,000, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as we're all in sync and people are musically inclined to whatever it is that you're doing, that never gets old to me.
Yeah, that's got to be a high, because I love to party, and I know when the DJ is doing his thing, I'm like, ooh, love this. The vibe is just crazy.
Yeah, it makes you feel good. It's whatever it is that you're going through in life at that particular point, whether it's good or bad. If you're going through some good things in life, then that's great. It makes it even greater. If you're going through some tough times or whatever, you're going to a good party or show or whatever, and that DJ is doing, whatever it is that they need to be doing to take your mind off of whatever that is that you're going through. That's a great thing too.
Absolutely. So you bring joy to people. You help people to forget about, like you said, if they're going through something tough, you give them a break for a moment to enjoy themselves and feel good. So that's pretty amazing.
Right. And then on the flip side, if they're celebrating life or whatever, to take
Yeah.
that to another step further, that's great.
Yep.
To make
That
it cool. So, one of my hashtags is I make memories.
yes, definitely.
So I use that a lot.
Why do you think some DJs are able to make millions and others can't or don't? Like the EDM DJs, and why do they make so much money?
It is the market that they're in and the money that's in that market, that circle of people. So house music has been around for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and soul house. I hate to say it, there's a racial situation that's involved with that.
Yeah.
Soul house music has been around for a long time. It's probably the originator. It is the originator of all house music. A lot of that came out of the States, out of Chicago, techno out of Detroit. The second home was New York. There were a lot of that going on, and it was kind of like a spin-off of disco and all that era too. So, that music has been around for a minute. EDM is kind of, the newer kid on the block, fresh, very European-esque, if you want to say so.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from out of that era or out of that area of the world. They have their own money. They have their own way of doing things, and I don't hate on it. It is what it is. At first, I did, but when I started going to some of these festivals, I was like, oh, I get it. I understand. It's almost like, what helped me to understand that actually was going to Trinidad and going to an event like Soca Brainwash.
Oh yeah.
So Soca Brainwash, if people are not familiar with soca and all that stuff, that's DJ Private Ryan's signature event, who is the, I guess, funk flex of soca.
Mm-hmm.
All
Right.
your hip hop heads is listening. Um, he's the ambassador to soca as far as the DJs are concerned, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he has his own event, and it is I want to say a smaller version of any EDM festival that you would find in Europe. Pretty much the same thing, and the ticket pricing is almost similar. There are some EDM festivals that are even more expensive than Soca Brainwash. They offer a little bit more on the VIP side of things. So that's where a lot of that money is drawn from too. So these guys can make, they can make millions because they're doing festivals all the time. They're not doing regular clubs. So it works. A lot of their money comes from, casinos and resorts. Their checks are different than everybody else's. They're not struggling to, pay a DJ
Right.
at the end. They're not looking at the bar tab to make sure that, oh, we made enough money at the bar to pay this DJ. Not concerned with any of that.
Yep. So
So that's how that goes. I mean, and it's a certain niche group of people that gets that money.
yeah, because that's like a big thing. That whole EDM thing. I don't even get it, but you know, it's
You'd have to
big.
go to Vegas to see it. Like,
No, I did.
I,
Well, I didn't go out because I didn't want to hear that music all night. So I was like, I'm not going out. But my husband went out and he was like, it was insane.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
So,
It is.
but I've
It is.
seen video, like just of these DJs and when they do like these performances and they have like these venues and the crowd it's like Beyonce and Jay-Z or something. It's
Yeah.
crazy just to listen to this dum 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 like what? Like I can't all night. No, I'm sorry. If there are any EDM listeners, I'm not trying to diss y'all. I'm just saying I can't handle it. It's too much. But
It's
it's
a different rush though. It's a different rush.
yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so how do you decide what gigs to take?
That's a good question. First of all, there was a point where I didn't have the option to decide. I was just taking whatever I could take.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of DJs that are like that. So if you are a DJ and listening and you're like, well, what do you mean? Yeah, there's still some work to do. And, if you can get to pick and choose with events and it doesn't hurt, it doesn't hurt your pockets, then that's good. I pick and choose off of the vibe, the vibe of the people that I'm working with, the vibe of the clientele that the people I'm working with have. That's how I mainly do it.
Okay.
Because, like for example, I won't do strip clubs anymore. Like when I first started out, when I first started out DJing, I started working in strip clubs before I got into the clubs. So once I got into regular clubs, I never wanted to go back to a strip club. I didn't care what it was.
Is there any reason in particular?
The environment, back then strip clubs were for a DJ were like they were considered dead end jobs. So if you were in a strip club, it was probably because number one, you couldn't get into a regular club. Either you didn't have the connections or you just wasn't good enough to get in a regular club. But now strip clubs, in the hip hop world, strip clubs is like the spot.
Right.
And that's cool. I'm just not gonna do it. I don't care what people think it is. I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't want that element. I don't like being around that element. And that's just not my kind of clientele. I'm cool.
So it seems like they're closing a lot of the strip clubs.
Well, in the New York area, yeah. Yeah. I mean, New York is a different beast, though. With gentrification, you're not going to have too many strip clubs around. With gentrification in places, industrial places being now places to live, yeah, they're going to run everything out if possible.
That makes sense.
So, yeah.
So
that's what's happening.
Okay, because I was wondering. I heard about
the rest of the country still the same, though. The rest of the country, you can still, do whatever.
So, if the crowd is looking dead, do you have a go-to song or, something that you do to kind of like get the vibe going?
It depends. I don't have a go-to song because I play different types of events. And sometimes I play like specialty events. So like I'll play at a, soca party, or I'll play at a all trap party, or I'll play at an 80s and 90s party. And, I'll stick to the theme or whatever it is. So with that being said, if a crowd is dead, I have to figure it out for myself, depending on what the room is.
Right.
But, for the most part, I don't really have those problems. But sometimes I do. And it really depends. It could be anything. It could be, people are it could be early and people are there early, but they're not really in party mode and they're just not drinking.
Right.
It could be the room is full and they're not drinking. It could be. I'll tell you a good story. It could be like, do you remember when 50 Cent's In the Club came out?
Yes, love that song.
So at one point, I was playing in a city, at a club in New York City called Envy. At one point, it didn't matter what a DJ was doing. The party was doing nothing until that song comes on. It was just like that. So people would sit there and literally wait for a song. One song, and that was their night.
That's so crazy. I went to
They wouldn't leave until the song was over, though. They wouldn't leave. They would stay there, but the party wouldn't begin until that song came on.
Yeah, sometimes people are, I don't know. I went to a party on Sunday and, I got there early and people were just like standing around and, looking around, like doing nothing. So I'm like, this party is whack. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, But then after a while, people got some food and they got some drinks and then the vibes kicked in, So I totally get what you're saying. Sometimes people just take a minute to warm up. Doesn't matter what's playing.
Yep. And that happens more so now than ever because, in my opinion, people don't know how to communicate any longer. It's the fact of people communicating, like speaking one-to-one, that skill is diminishing in the social media world. So people can go into a party now and literally hear something that they like and start dancing a little bit, but then they'll take their phone out and start recording themselves dancing.
Oh, yeah. I do that too. I can't even judge because I do that too.
but a whole room will do it at the same time. So it's like you're taking yourself out of the party to record yourself in the party all the time, but you're not speaking or dancing with anybody.
Oh, no. See,
because you stopped at that point.
no, I'm still dancing and conversing and, having a good time. I'm a multitasker, so I get it all done.
You have a room of multitaskers, you have a party.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have people who can only do one thing at a time, you may have a dead room.
Yeah.
You may have a packed dead room.
And I've seen that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite type of event to, host?
Overall or of my events?
Right now, what is your favorite thing? Like when you get this type of, event, you're like, yes, I love it.
Wow. And that's hard to answer because
weddings, no. Maybe.
I really don't know. I would say my signature events, some of my signature events.
Okay.
So like when I do South in the City, which is my after work trap party,
Mm-hmm.
I know 1,000 people who live and breathe for that music, and they go in there and they act accordingly, which is great.
Yeah.
When I do my New Jack party, which is my 80s and 90s party, those people come in there dressed in 80s and 90s attire, and they go in there and dance like they're like Kid and Play is about to walk in the building. Like that, I like, but each one of them are different. So, even Caribbean cult is different. I enjoy Caribbean cult because of the atmosphere of the food, music, and culture of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's hard to answer. I would guess it would be one of those. I guess it would be the signature events. Because I try to curate certain things to pull certain things out of people.
Right.
Who lives that particular life.
Okay. So, as an entrepreneur, is there anything that you have wanted to do, but you are afraid to take that leap?
Besides broadcasting sports? I don't know. That's a good question. But I would say maybe just broadcasting sports. I'm probably after the show, I'm probably going to end up saying, "Oh, I should have said this." But that's what's coming to mind now. Probably that. I never got a chance to do that for a major television broadcasting network. So probably that. I have done radio. I have done commercial radio before. So yeah. So I have my own 24-hour radio station where it's called commishradio.com. And I have DJs on there. Oddly enough, I have not been on air for an actual show in about 5 months, but I'm programming and making sure that DJs are on there every week. So it's cool.
That's what's up. So how do you feel about music today? Like the rap music, R&B, like where music is today. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are there's a lot of, and one of the reasons why you asked this question is because there is probably a lot of conversation everywhere about the state of hip hop right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are some older folks who can't stand it and think it's trash.
Mm-hmm.
My rebuttal to that is in the 90s, everybody was saying hip hop was trash then too. All y'all doing is sampling everything from the 70s. Y'all got no originality. Your music is garbage. It's trash. I remember hearing that 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is everybody has their own era. So what you think is trash to a 14-year-old might be the greatest thing ever. And the cycle continues. That's the best way I can say it. The only thing I will say, and that's what I will say about hip hop, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But on the R&B side, what I will say about R&B is, and I like the fact that there is a little bit of some sort of love being given to R&B in the last 9 months or so. I don't know when it became, and sometime in the mid 2000s, I don't know what happened, but the music industry just basically walked away from R&B altogether. And I don't know why. I don't know what was the purpose of it, but it's just starting to make a comeback now, even to the point where, I started an R&B party maybe 2.5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I abandoned it because I didn't think there was enough support for it. Now everybody's doing R&B parties. Same thing. Same thing that I had. So people were watching then. I guess I was a trendsetter. I don't know. It's all good.
Yeah.
But, but yeah, like I'm glad that there's R&B out now, and, it's starting to get a little bit of love again.
Yeah, because I feel like I could count the amount of R&B songs that I've heard on my hands. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like it's been missing.
I spent my evening, going through some music last night, and I didn't realize that Neo had an album out. I did realize that, but I didn't realize it until it was, a couple of weeks after it dropped.
Mm-hmm.
So it dropped in June. So I listened to the whole thing last night. That's a pretty good project.
Yeah.
I don't hear anything about it, but it's a good project. The Internet dropped an album over the weekend. That album is great. I wish, there was more talk about that. But there are a lot of decent R&B projects that have come out over the last year or so that you just don't hear about.
Right.
But people are listening. They're checking for it. But I guess the media or radio stations or whatever is not publicizing it, or even the music industry is not publicizing it. That I don't understand. I don't know. I don't understand what the blowback from R&B is about.
So, what is the most humbling experience you've had as a DJ?
Humbling experience. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I want to say, when people stop parties and speak and mention me, I'll give you an example. I did a wedding in Atlantic City a few years ago for a friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was having a terrible time. Like I'm talking about personally.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me, I went down there broke because I had my bank card stolen or something like that. Not stolen, but I left my bank card at a club, came back to the club maybe 2 days later and realized they cleaned out my money on that card. And I had to go to Atlantic City the next day, and I had, enough money for bus tickets and all that kind of stuff. So I went down there, and I had to bring my turntables and stuff. So here I am on a bus with turntables and a mixer going to Atlantic City. I want to say it was Labor Day weekend. It was hot.
Mm-hmm.
So I come down there. I get there early because the bus leaves early, and that was the only bus that I could get down there from my neighborhood. So I get down there early, setting up for the wedding. I just knew I wasn't going to miss this. So I didn't say anything. Nobody knows what's going on in my personal life. I'm just there, right?
Right.
The band who was supposed to play the actual wedding and cocktail hour never showed up. So I end up having to do the whole thing. Good thing I got there early.
Right.
So I end up doing the whole thing. They were so appreciative that the groom stopped the reception just to thank me. And everybody gave me a standing ovation and everything. And he was like, damn near tears in his eyes.
Wow.
Because he was so appreciative of me being there and being early and doing whatever they needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you don't even know what's going on here.
Right.
That probably is one of the most humbling experiences that I've had.
That's pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it was just a weird thing for me,
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you sacrifice to do what you love?
Oh, everything. Relationships with family. I don't, me being a DJ was not a popular thing in my family whatsoever. Relationships with certain people, time, energy, that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's been some relationships that definitely have been sacrificed for this.
Wow.
For sure.
Okay. Do you feel like you are living a purpose-driven life?
I don't look at it that way, but I probably am. I'm just, I just do what I do,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think about, what's the purpose. I kind of see it. Like I kind of see how, as long as people are happy and as long as I can help people, that's my purpose, I guess. So I don't think about it.
Yeah.
Than that I do see. So that's why I don't think about it. Like I do see that every once in a while. Like I'll see people I'll make connections for people, and those connections only come through those people actually knowing who I am and maybe coming to a party or two, and I was able to introduce them.
Mm-hmm.
The thing. So, I'm more of a DJ, more than a DJ. I'm kind of like a connector to people too.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of,
Absolutely.
I can see that.
And when you're working, you do enjoy yourself, right? It doesn't feel like work.
Sometimes it does. I know I've been told plenty of times that I look like it's work. Some people have told me that sometimes I look bored or I look like I'm upset. And that's not the case half the time. Most of the time, it's not the case unless people start getting on my nerves and asking dumb things. But other than that, I guess I'd be concentrated and looking and
right.
about what the next thing is going to be.
I was going to say that's your focused look.
Yeah.
So don't get it confused. That's his focused look, people. Come on.
Yeah. I definitely have a intimidating look though sometimes when I'm DJing. So
yeah,
I think that's what I've been told.
I can have that too, just by standing around. But I'm really a friendly person. So we talked about you having this passion to do some sports broadcasting. Are there any other passions that you are exploring or would like to explore?
More traveling, to see the world and learn how people live and learn other music, maybe.
Okay.
I definitely like to see other cultures and how they live and what kind of music they listen to and what kind of foods they eat and all that type of stuff. So traveling, definitely.
Well, I also think you should, look into doing maybe a sports podcast on your own,
That has been people have been telling me about that for a while now. The problem is for me is my schedule is already a bit crazy and kind of unpredictable. Mm-hmm. So, and you know this from having having this, right?
Yeah.
You know how much time and dedication it takes and how much consistency it takes. The consistency part is the part that makes it a challenge for me because my schedule is so inconsistent. So that is the only thing. That's the only thing that's been holding me back for a little bit.
Well, I have faith that you will make it happen when the time is right.
I hope so.
You will. If it's meant to be, it will.
Yeah.
So this is the Oh Hell No podcast. So now you have to share an Oh Hell No moment with us. It could be a moment from your past. It could be a moment from today. It could be professional, personal, just a moment where you had to pause.
I feel like there's plenty.
Yeah, usually.
I feel like there's plenty. So I guess it would be this. I guess this one will be personal. I've had a broken foot for the last, month and a half. I've been pretty much in a shoe boot for the last month and a half. I have DJ sitting on bar stool. But haven't missed a day's work. One of the things that people have done, and this is probably this past Friday was the third time this has happened, where a patron, I'll be out and a patron will come up. I wouldn't call him a fan because I don't think fans would do that. But I would say a patron would come up and try to start a conversation with me, but we'll start a conversation with tapping the top of my foot. Like tapping the shoe, like almost trying to step on it. Mm-mm. I'm like, what is that about? And why all three of them happen to be women? And they want to talk. Like, I don't want to talk at that point. I don't understand that. I mean, I have arms and legs. You can tap my shoulder or something.
But your foot, the foot that's in the boot?
The foot that's in the boot. That's happened to me 3 times in the last month.
People are so crazy. I just can't take them.
I don't get it. And then when I have full conversations. Mm-mm. Was that supposed to be a pickup line or something?
I don't know. I asked, I had another DJ on and I asked him about the groupie action, and I said, is it still a thing? And he said, yeah, I really don't get it. It really is, but.
I mean, that's not going anywhere. Like, just because I've changed my life and my own personal life, doesn't mean that doesn't exist.
But it's so crazy that it's still a thing, But I guess it is. I mean, you guys are performers. I mean, You know what I mean? You really are. Like, that's your art. That's what you're doing. You're on a stage. All eyes are on you. You're performing. You getting the crowd hype. So I guess it's a turn on for some people. So they want to be close to that, you know?
I mean, that's
So,
fine, but it depends on I don't really think about that anymore. Like a few years ago, I used to have that, right? But you know who my girl is.
right.
So, once we started dating, there was no real issue to me. I don't know. Now, I don't know if my facial expression has changed over the last couple of years, but I don't have that problem anymore.
Okay, so it's probably your energy. I think the energy that you can give off can maybe, make people think, hey, I'm open to that, But if your energy is like, I'm working, like, don't even try me, you know what I mean? Then it's kind of, And then if someone tries to be too cute, you don't really pay attention to it, or you don't give it any feedback, and then they realize that it's like a no-go,
Right.
But so I think that could be it too, because there's always people that's going to try you, but
Right.
they feed off your energy. So if your energy is like, nah, I'm not really feeling that, they're going to know.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is then.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's never been like some people have had like transitional period issues.
Because their energy was transitioning too. That's why. Their energy was stuck in a place where, damn, I don't really want to let it go, but I got to. But,
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
absolutely. Come on. Well,
Well, not tonight, because I didn't really think about that. I just knew that I didn't have those problems, but I did know that they exist, though.
yeah, I'm sure if you were back on the market, you would all of a sudden see that it's still there.
Okay.
But
Fair enough.
you're not looking for that. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So it was such a pleasure talking to you, getting to know you and a little bit about your life. So thank you again for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I definitely got to come back.
Yes, when you get that sports show going, come back.
Yes. Yes. Now I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to
Now
make
you
it
gotta
happen.
do it. You know what I'm saying? We waiting. We want to hear what you think about LeBron. We want to know what's going on. I mean,
I still have no comment about that yet. Even though I'm a Laker fan, I'm just waiting to see what's going on. I'll just wait and see. Same thing with the Knicks. I'll just wait and see on both.
Yeah.
Should be an interesting year.
It's crazy, but it's entertaining, so it's all
For sure.
good. So tell us how we can keep up with you and find out about these specialty parties that you're having.
Okay. The best way to keep up with me is I'm pretty active on Instagram. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat at DJ Commish. That's DJ COMMISH. I'm actually about to I'm actually going to get back into work so I can drop a new soca mix within the next 48 hours. And that'll be on my SoundCloud page. You can also go to djcommish.com. It has all of my tour dates, all of my ticket links, as well as links to my music, to my mixes, all that good stuff. So you can definitely check out those areas, djcommish.com, or just find DJ Commish on any social media platform, and I'm out here. I'm definitely here.
Awesome. Sounds good.